coming through when the growth look good on you. Best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Tables turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep...
What's going on, people? What's going on? It's G. We are back in the building. Guys, please make sure you do smash that like. Please make sure you do share and subscribe to the damn channel. You guys already know why we're here. England versus Denmark. Denmark versus England, Euro 2024. Obviously, the second group game in this tournament in England's group. England, of course, as you guys can see on the screen already, England are currently sitting top of that group with 3 points. Denmark are currently in second with their draw in their last game against Slovenia, and Serbia are sitting currently in fourth position. Now, it's only the first group game that's of course been played, so nothing just yet. Obviously looking good for England, if I'm being honest, looking good for them, you know, sitting top of the table. We've had that first game. It weren't all that. I'll be honest with you in terms of performance-wise. And if I'm being honest, Serbia looked like they could easily, and I do mean easily, have come back in this game. But, you know, doesn't really matter. Tournament football, as I said before, all you're trying to get is that 3 points. So the reality is we're here now. You know, we're going into the second group game this evening, actually, going into that second group game, and just hopefully just trying to get that 3 points again, put England on 6 points. And to be honest, depending on how the other game goes, of course, between Slovenia and Serbia, England probably could potentially be through. I think if that game ends in a draw, Slovenia will only be on 2 points, Denmark could only be on 2 points, England will be on 6. So yeah, I think that would be safe passage through to the next round. So yeah, we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see, man. Now, usually, obviously, you know, you guys already, when I come to do like these match previews and stuff like that, like usually I'll give you guys my predicted lineup. I'll give you my 11. But obviously, we've heard quite a bit of what's come out, like obviously in the media and stuff like that, in terms of what Gareth Southgate might do. Again, he may change his mind. If I know Gareth Southgate, he's likely to do that, right? You know, to change his mind. And from what I've heard, he is due to play the same team that he played against Serbia in that first game. So, of course, Pickford, Trippier, Gay, Stones and Walker at the back, Declan Rice and Trent Alexander-Arnold in the middle, with Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Bukayo Saka behind Harry Kane up top. Now, if he does that, and this is why I said, you know what, I predict like my 11, I think the only one I would change is probably change maybe Phil Foden and maybe put in a, if you're going to keep Trent Alexander-Arnold in at that DM position, I'm more than happy to do so. It is what it is. If that was going to be the case, then I'll probably say, yeah, Gordon would be the guy I would put in, purely because I never felt we were able to really utilize, you know, Trent's, you know, qualities and his ability. Now, of course, what he did in the middle of the park the other day, and obviously I know a lot of people have spoken about it, and I think what's happening is that we've come into a position now where I just feel like, because we've all got agendas in some way, shape or form, you know, whether we want to admit it, whether we want to, you know what I mean, whether we want to say it out loud on camera and stuff like that, it is what it is. But I'm here to tell you guys, everyone's got an agenda in some way, shape or form, whether it's player you like, don't like, whether it's, you know, you want them to do this, want them to do that, position, role, etc., etc. We've all got this agenda. So where we've all got this agenda, I feel like it's coming into play quite a lot. So obviously the agenda, say with Trent Alexander-Arnold, is he can't really play midfield, which I can look, I see both sides. I'm on the side of I'd rather him not play in midfield, because I don't feel like that utilizes his abilities to the best. You know, he can't utilize his abilities to the best, you know, to his top quality that we know that we have actually seen, you know, when he plays there at right back and stuff like that. So that's why I don't want him there. Now, I hear what other people are saying in terms of putting him in the midfield, in terms of they think that what he does at right back and the kind of role that Jurgen Klopp had him doing last season and towards the back end of the previous season, they feel like he basically is going to do that anyway in the midfield. Now, of course, England don't play the same way as Liverpool do, so he ain't never going to do that. So if he's not doing that role and he does the role that he does, or he did the other day against Serbia, that's where I'm a little bit like, yeesh. I don't know now. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it becomes a bit of a catch-22, a bit of a catch-22, and that's where I feel like it just depends on what role you're asking him to do. Now, he played a disciplined role. I thought he was calm in the middle of the park. I don't feel like, yeah, a couple mistakes here and there. You know, it is what it is. I'm not gonna, beat him with a stick with it, just because of that. I just felt like he was calm. I felt like he was genuinely calm, in that middle of the park. But you never really saw too much from him. And, he ended up coming off, I think, for Gallagher, I think it was Gallagher in that first game. And Gallagher, obviously, he provides more of an energy in the midfield. Obviously, he is a midfielder, so of course he's already got that. He's someone who can, just kind of, he's like a rat, just at your neck all the time. He just reminds me of one of them kind of people. So I kind of understood why you took off Trent. I wasn't even mad at that. It was just more the case of you're bringing on the like for like, basically. You're bringing on a guy who's going to do the exact same thing. Is that what you need at that moment in time? I think that's where questions get asked about Gareth Southgate, in certain moments, in certain games, is, your in-game management. Is it really good, or is it just you don't really look like what you're doing? Now, I also see the flip side of keeping a Trent on. I see the flip side of, putting Trent in this position, because one swing of that right boot, bro, it's like David Beckham. He can put the ball on a sixpence for you. He can do that. We've seen him do that numerous of times throughout his career. Not for midfield, but we've seen him do it, right? And I feel like people think that that's going to happen in the centre midfield. So fair enough. Of course, let's just hope we see that, possibly happen. But I just think the only way that happens is if he's got runners. That's how Trent works. When he's got runners, when he's got space to put the ball in behind, that's where Trent is excellent, because he could put that ball in behind better than anybody else on this entire team. There's no one on this team who has a better passing range than him. Harry Kane's pretty good. Yeah, you know what I mean? Trippier is good with the set pieces and that. Declan Rice is good with the set pieces and all of this stuff. But none of them come close to Trent Alexander-Arnold when it comes to that passing range, the variety of passes and stuff like that. And I just feel that if you are going to have him in the team because you feel that he can do that, which is absolutely fine, then you're going to need to help him out. In my opinion, anyway, you're going to need to help him out. I just feel that we don't try and help him out. So when you don't try and help him out, he's just doing the basics. Now, it's funny because I'm not trying to get onto a guy for doing the basics, because that's what we want to see from our players, no matter what position they play, midfield, defense, attack, be able to do the basics, right? Not a problem. But then if he's going to do that, anyone can do that. Anyone can literally do that. And then it becomes kind of null void as to why Trent Alexander-Arnold is even in the team, in my personal opinion. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because then you're just like, oh yeah, because he can do this amazing thing with his right foot, where he can play this pass and that pass. That's great. Excellent. Guess what? He can't do it. Why? Because there's no one to pass to. There is no passing. He's just playing in the midfield for playing in midfield sake, kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's where I think tactically you can have him in there, but you need to help him out in that regards. And I'm hoping that if he does go with the same team, that's what we're going to see a lot more of. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, do you get what I'm trying to say? And of course, Gareth Southgate, he spoke a little bit about Phil Foden, because of course he came under fire after that first game, which I felt he played extremely poor in. He says he thinks that Phil did an incredible job for the team on Sunday. The amount of ground he covered, the angles of pressing, the filling in for people who were further forward. Without Phil's contribution, without the ball, I know that's not the sexy bit, and everybody wants to see him on the ball. I don't think we win this game. Now, I hear what you're saying, because of course you need that in your team. I totally agree with that. I just think that it's more about positionally, and again, helping out, as I mentioned before, helping out other players in the team, to get the best of other players in the team. That's where I felt, it was just going wrong for England. And as you saw in that second half, you start to run out of ideas. Phil can cover all it, and I know all the tacticos, and they really are starting to annoy me a little bit on Twitter, but I know they all come out and say, Phil did amazing. He covered this ground. He did. Yeah, that's all cute. But guess what? England played poorly. And if it wasn't for luck, And you know what I mean, on their side, they could have easily have drawn that game, potentially have lost that game. Why? Because Serbia started to pose a bit more of a threat in that second half. And guess what? England ran out of ideas. And that was the problem. And guess what? Looking at that front three, especially in that second half, or front four, should I say, you know, Phil Foden, Jude Bellingham, Saka and Kane, it was nothing. Nothing was going on. Like, you couldn't string two passes together at one stage. It just didn't make any sense, you know, after a while. And it just felt like you need something different. And again, this is what I'm talking about having Trent in that team. Guess what? He is a guy who can do something different. But it's difficult to do something different when you've got Phil Foden dropping deep for the ball, when you've got Harry Kane playing 4-6, when you've got Bukayo Saka who just wants the ball to feet. You've got all of these guys who want ball to feet. None of these are runners. These guys are not runners. Never have been runners. Saka's not a person who runs in behind. You don't do that. I mean, I'm not saying he's never done it before, but like if I'm correct, watching Saka since he made his debut, you know, for Arsenal, he's never been a guy who runs in behind. That's not his game. He likes ball to feet because he wants to take on his man. 1-2s and stuff like that. That's what he's like really good at. You know, them little 1-2s and around the corner with Erdegaard or whoever on that side. That's what he's on. He loves doing those kind of things because he's good at that. Cutting back in on his left foot, putting the ball in, crossing the ball into that far post. Like all of that kind of stuff. That's what Saka's really, really good at. That's what he does. Phil Foden. Sometimes he runs in behind every now and again in the Manchester City setup, but the reality is he likes the ball to feet. 1-2s again. Balling around the corner. Running off, third man, like all of these kind of things. I'm not saying that these guys never do it. I don't want people to think that I'm sitting here saying, yeah, but he didn't do it. Yeah, he's probably done it in some games. I'm not saying that he doesn't do that, but that's not their game. That's not their thing, you know, kind of thing. So when I look at it, I'm a bit like, if you're playing with a lot of guys who like the ball to feet, Jude Bellingham, who's a bit of a ball carrier, he likes to hog the ball, he likes to win fouls, you know, dive on the floor if he wants to, whatever. That's what he likes to do. Harry Kane can't run in behind to save his life. He's not quick like that. He likes the ball to feet. He wants to drop deep into that full 6 position. He wants to play alongside Declan Rice and Kyle Walker and them, man, because he wants to pick up and start spraying the ball as if he's, you know, the best passer since sliced bread. Fair enough. Again, fair enough. But then what's Trent gonna do? Who's Trent finding in this system? That's the bit that confuses me the most, and hence why I just feel that if you're not gonna change the roles of a Foden, of a Saka, of a Kane, I just feel like what is the point of having Trent in that team? That swing of a right boot is just meaningless now. It's literally just a meaningless thing, and that's what frustrates me more than anything. You know, when I watched England against Serbia the other day, it's all well and good. The tacticos telling everybody online, yeah, this is great, do this, and when he does that, this happens. Nothing happening. Guys, we watch the games. Don't let these people fool you. Please, don't let these people fool you. That's all it ever is. Big words and throwing stuff in and yeah, this and that. Don't let these guys fool you. I promise you guys, if you watch the game yourself, you will see these things for yourself, man. Phil Foden was poor the other night. He was really, really poor. Couldn't really get into the game. All that moving around, all he was ending up doing was getting in people's way. He was in other people's spaces. At one point, I saw him looking around because it looked like he didn't even know where to go at one stage. And I'm not even blaming him because I know what Phil Foden's about. He's a bad boy. He is a solid player. I know what he's about. But guess what? In that kind of system, in that kind of setup, it just didn't really work. And I get it. Obviously, maybe Southgate's looking at it and he's thinking, I just want to get my best players onto the team. You know, I want to be able to, you know, hopefully if I can get all the best players I have available onto the pitch, they'll be able to figure it out. And these guys are smart guys. You got a lot of Champions League winners in this team, you know, quite a lot. When you look around, you know, you look at the Phil Fodens, you look at the Trent Alexander-Arnolds, you know, you look at the Kyle Walkers, the Jon Stones. These guys have won Champions League. They've won Premier Leagues. You know, these guys have done that. So I get it why you probably would think that, you know, they can kind of figure it out on the pitch because really they should be kind of experienced enough to do so, but they're going to need a little bit more guidance than that. At some points we had Jordan Pickford just playing long ball. All we were doing hoofball. Let's just give the ball back to Serbia is what we were doing after a while. Let's just give the ball back to Serbia and we just sit in. Is that the kind of, I mean, listen, look, I get it because it's tournament football. So on one side, I'm not going to be too mad at that, but it's whether this stuff is sustainable. Guys, you remember me talking about things being sustainable with Liverpool? Guess how that panned out? Guess how all of that panned out? Guess what? It wasn't sustainable because these things are never really sustainable like that. Not when you've got a style like this. It's not. It's never going to be sustainable, right? It's going to be maybe good for the short term, and maybe in tournament football, you probably feel that it's good enough to get me through and get me over the line. But I don't know. I feel like better teams will just figure that out. And I'm not even saying it needs to be a world class team. Like I said, Serbia are not the greatest team in the world, but they almost had. You know what I mean? They almost drew that game. Fine margins, probably the word I'm looking for. Fine margins is all it is, with England. So that's where I kind of like disagree. If like, and again, I don't mind him playing the same team. I just think you've got to set them up a little bit differently. That's all I'm really, realistically saying. Because if you're gonna have Kieran Trippier, who's not gonna bomb up all the time, because obviously he's not that comfortable playing, going on the outside, because obviously he's not left-footed, so he's going to cut in onto his right foot, which is fine. Then him and Foden can't be two people on that same side who are cutting in. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It just, for me, it just doesn't really make too much sense. Something needs to change there, in that regard. So, yeah, man, that's kind of my only real gripe with that, to be honest with you. But again, like I said, it'll be interesting to see this evening, how Gareth Southgate obviously, plays this, and what kind of works, for him. Obviously, remember the last time England played off against Denmark. It was back in the Euros, Euro 2020, I think it was. Yeah, Euro 2020. We won in extra time. Harry Kane scored the winning goal. He missed the penalty, but obviously on the follow up, he was able to score. And then obviously that got us through 2-1 at the end of the day. So I'd say, yeah, good omens, I guess, so to speak. I mean, there's no extra time here, so. Denmark are not going to be a easy team, if I'm being 100% honest with you. I think it's going to be trickier. I think it's going to be a difficult test for England. I think it will be a difficult test. I still expect them to be able to come through it and get the 3 points. However that happens, whether I sit here and I say I like the football, I dislike the football, whatever, doesn't really matter. I still expect them to go out there and get the job done, at the end of the day. So again, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of pans out in terms of the scoreline. Let me know what you guys think in terms of the scoreline. I'll probably go with 1-0. I'll go with 1-0 England. I think the defense, by the way, the defense that England had in that game, I thought the defense was actually pretty decent. I can't even lie to you. I actually thought the defense was pretty decent. Had their moments, of course, but all in all, I felt like they were kind of calm. Like, they didn't worry me. That wasn't the part of the actual pitch that actually worried me. It was like, oh, England's defense looked shaky. And obviously that was the part that everyone, myself included, spoke about prior to the tournament starting, was that, England's defense is going to be the reason why they don't do well. But really, for me, the reason why, if I'm just basing off that first game, the reason why England won't do well is because of everything further forward. Not being able to really get the job done. So, yeah, man, if we keep the same defense, like I said, I've not really got too much of a problem with that. It's just more the midfield and attack going forward. Not so much personnel, just more about the roles that they are given. That's all I'm really looking for. But again, we'll wait and see. But I'm going to go England 1-0 in this game. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Gareth Southgate should make any changes? Do you think he needs to just switch it up a little bit? Do we need to do something a little bit differently? Etc., etc. Let me know, of course, what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm G. That's the match reaction, done and dusted. We out, people.